Yeah, we back another episode of Verbal Pick Radio, where we give you a verbal image of life, and we are everyday people. And today we talking on subjects of Garvey and just in general, all the things that's taking place in the world today, giving you our take on things that are relevant to society and things that shape society. And I got a special guest in the house tonight, Brother Malvo, who's a spiritual brother always speaks with knowledge, and when you meet the brother here, king or queen, referring to his own. Welcome to the show, Brother Malvo. How you feeling?
Already, God.
Yes, sir, man. Definitely, man. One thing that I like, and talking to you is your aspect on Garvey, and in the South and in Texas, you don't run across a lot of Garveyites. You know what I mean? Who actually study Garvey in the movement. But I read a while back once before that the ships that they sold Garvey, they sold them inadequate ships to where they couldn't make the voyage going back to the motherland. Is there some validity in that?
Yeah, man. They set our brother Garvey up, man. Mm-hmm. Garvey was doomed from the beginning.
Okay.
There's literature supporting that. Not only did they punch holes in the ship,
mm-hmm.
it was sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want us creating our own.
Right.
They don't want us to be in a situation where we're not relying on master.
Right.
And you become your own.
That's right.
That's all that really is. Even in Garvey,
right.
When they was able to deport Garvey, all of a sudden Garvey turned up dead.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't no accident Garvey turned up dead after he was deported.
That's right. That's right. That power and strength. But that inner self, that inner being that tells you I can or I can achieve. Why is it so important for them to stomp out that spiritual growth? To where you might see some of our own, you walk around resembling zombies or at a dead state, not a living perpendicular, but I mean dead to the knowledge and wisdom of who they are. I mean, meaning if you do that to a people for a period of time, won't it have an adverse effect on you?
What happens is they like to play a lot on words.
Okay.
They call them spells and spelling because that's what's happening when they casting this over you.
Yes, sir.
So what happens is this. Our people have been handed down religion,
right,
belief, tradition.
Right.
It's like the roast tradition. You hear grandmother say, you cut the ends off of the roast.
Okay.
And nobody ever knows, but you ask mama, I don't know, you have to ask your grandma. That's just how she always did it.
Right.
And then, we're going to ask Big Mama. Big Mama taught it to us. So
yeah.
when you go back to Big Mama, why did you always cut the ends off the roast? They thought it was for flavor. Big Mama said it just couldn't fit in the oven. It just couldn't fit.
It couldn't fit. All right.
So now what's going on with our people, it just don't fit. So
right.
We got children chasing white Jesus. We got people chasing white
right.
Jesus.
Right.
When we ask them about creating their own, it's you talk to the average black king or queen about capitalism or owning their own.
Right.
This is normal vernacular for our Caucasian brothers and sisters.
Right.
We don't possess that.
Right.
We don't possess the tools. Well, I'm not going to say we don't possess them. It's just not something that's taught within our homes.
Right.
It's something that's been passed down to us. And for us, they had an episode on Good Time Show. I don't know if a lot of people Good Time fans, but
right.
On the Good Time Show, Michael came home and said, I'm not going to school no more.
Right,
They're not teaching us truth anyways.
Right.
And he called George Washington a slave owner.
And he was right.
And he was right. But what happened was his mother, with her slave mentality, because like you hear about, I'm in the hood more than J.J. Evans. I'm not.
Right.
I'm going to beat them at their own game, and I'm going to be on the same plane with them.
That's right.
And better.
That's right.
But the problem is when we teaching that, the outcome of that is we reproduce what we've already been taught.
Okay. And so that's saying then in the fact that maybe some of us don't understand the science behind or the mathematics behind capitalism. In this society, money is like a blood. You have to have income money to be in this society.
But this is
in a sense.
I'll give you a better scenario of that. The goal is right now for your LeBron Jameses, your Carmelo Anthony's, they all have taken a stance. But take Colin Kaepernick.
Right.
Oh, well, he's Hispanic. Matter of fact, that brother's mixed. Let's just put that out there. But at the end of the day, If you ain't white, you're black.
You black,
you
yeah.
want to call it.
That's right. How you think Hispanics got Hispanics? You go to Mexico and you go to Veracruz, you're going to see brothers speaking Spanish.
Yeah, and what happens is, you have a situation where type of mentality for our brothers and sisters.
Yes, sir.
And what happens is keep them strong, but keep them mentally broke down.
That's right.
And so what happens is, okay, you have Colin Kaepernick that has a $114 million contract, but he ain't scared to speak up.
He's not scared to speak up. I'm glad you said that point. Now, I asked others this question. I want your take on this perspective. You got Colin Kaepernick in a picture where he's kneeling on one knee and doing the national anthem. But you had about 4 or 5 brothers around him that was standing up. Is that in, say, 10 years from now, will he be looked at the soldier for the cause, and the ones that didn't kneel, will they be seen as the new coons or the new Toms?
I don't think they'll be seen as the new coons or the new Toms, because we have to understand there was a gentleman before Colin Kaepernick. There was a gentleman before him. That brother's name was Durant Thomas. Okay. He played for like 40 years. He's before Colin Kaepernick. You know what I'm saying? What we not understanding, I would advise everybody to go look at that. I don't even think most people know exists. The third verse of the Star Spangled Banner.
Okay, right.
The guy who wrote it is a guy named Francis Scott Key. If you anywhere in Houston, there's a middle school through Francis Scott Key.
Right.
What happened was Francis Scott Key was mad because he got the better of him when we talk about Emancipation Proclamation and the wars and all that.
Right.
Black brothers whooped their ass. That's what happened.
That's right.
And what happened with that situation was he was in this feeling. So in that third verse, it talks about he was happy that the slaves were slaughtered. And he wasn't in jail. So, like, you know what I'm saying? He was a slave owner. But we not teaching this. We're teaching our kids this backwardsness, and we giving it to them in reverse. But we mad because now the youth don't want to go to church. We mad because, and I've been telling mine don't go to church. We ain't serving no white Jesus.
Nah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, they just had Trump in the church. The thing with the church is when they had the riot out in Ferguson, the young people were telling Al, they was telling Jesse, they're gone. We don't want that now. You know that dancing and
cooning and shit.
It's played out. Nobody wants it no more.
But what nobody will say about that issue that happened in Ferguson, Jesse James came out there and asked for a donation.
Or Jesse Jackson, yeah.
He came out there and asked for a donation.
Papa
came and asked for a donation. Right. We getting shot down, gunned down, and killed, but you want a donation. You let me tell it.
Right.
You and Al Sharpton have marched with Jesse. They marched with Martin Luther King.
Right.
And this is all you've been able to produce.
Right. Yeah. In that time,
probably helped set Martin up.
Yeah, there's some saying
probably was after Queen Coretta Scott. That's probably what was going on.
That's what some say, state in this day and time, but you see that within the youth, they're not, they don't want that type of...
That slave mentality.
You know, they standing strong. They saying that we're going to move out on, even though we might not have, quote unquote, what they call education, but the sign of the times that we living in today dictates that we should move out on this wise. And we're not turning our back, you know, on meaning every time we had a movement that came from the streets, it was always a leader that came and put them back to sleep. But this time they're saying we're not going back to sleep. We want justice. We want freedom. We want equality.
Brother Umar said it right. We need to stop waiting for the white man to give us something. Everything we need. Everybody hates Farrakhan's stance, but I love his stance. His stance is not that we go kneel and beg for what we need. His stance is create what you need, what you want.
Live for yourself. Now, are you familiar with the power of the mind?
Yes, I am.
Now, why don't we, or why is it so hard to understand that your mind creates your reality, and you can go out there and build the type of community or neighborhood you like to see yourself in if you focus upon the right things? Or how do you put it like, how do we stop the bombardment of negative or us taking in these negative images that's betrayed to us and put through television and these movies and these reality shows, and they just, you know, hitting us with it every day, and then we want to come out and play that character, but that character is a fictional character. You're not gonna be that in real life. You know, you gotta have certain attributes in real life.
So, how I particularly stop the bombarding and all that stuff is tune out. What I call tune out is we removed our kids from school. I don't want you to give them a false white history because there is no history without black history. It's us.
That's right.
Let's start changing our foods. They just killed one of the great healers, Dr. Sumby, because he didn't die. There's no way in hell a brother goes to jail with $37,000 in his pocket and can't make bun, but he mysteriously dead.
That's right.
Brother Sumby said that his first curing of AIDS was in '87. He said it wasn't a leader around that would hear him or do anything about it.
Yeah. He said he reached out to a lot of leaders.
So we have to clear our mind and start tapping into our third eye, start tapping into our chi and clearing all this and tap into that other hemisphere of the brain. But in order to do that, we have to begin to clear this madness out of our life.
Okay.
And has everything to do with what we're being programmed to. You know, people mad when black folks or other black folks call people coons. And let me not call us black folks. I want to call us more brothers and sisters because that's what we are.
Right. Correct.
That's not something that can be bought or assigned. You're more, that's a birthright.
That's right.
So, you know, our more brothers and sisters, we mad when we hear the word coon. But you don't understand. You're programmed to defend this. You're programmed to promote white supremacy. It's been pumped to you since day one. You've been birthed by white doctors. We don't understand when a baby is born, he's not supposed to be snatched out of the umbilical cord cut. No, he's supposed to allow the placenta and all the other nutrients and vitamins to be given to him and laid there for a while. And once that's done, then that process should occur. But now when babies happen, they rushing you in for a check and rushing you out the door.
Mm-hmm.
And in most cases, not properly fixing you right.
Right. See, and a lot of people don't know that. A lot of our sisters don't know that information. A lot of brothers don't know that information, how to properly take care of that newborn coming into this world.
And let me add on that, make sure we breastfeed our babies and sisters.
Right.
There's no better milk or substance that young king or queen can receive than what the Creator has provided.
But we got to get out the white folks' vanity. They put their image of, it's like
on the Gerber baby. It's from day one.
That's right, bro.
It's there, man. We have to understand these images are placating and ravaging our mind from birth.
Symbolism.
Yes.
It's power in symbolism.
And the thing is, most people, if you don't understand, we'll just make it simple. Propaganda. Propaganda is real, people.
That's right, yeah.
It is. We have to understand that propaganda is given to you from birth. You birthed by a white doctor. We need to get back to midwifing. We out here.
Right.
We need to get back to that.
So what would you say the overall message of Garvey was? I know he say, wake up, you mighty people, accomplish what you will.
The overall message from Garvey, what I take from Garvey was love black, bleed black, promote black, love who you are.
Right.
Love what the Creator has made you. And we don't understand that.
That's right.
We have our brother, Dr. Umar. This man is trying to produce a school here.
Right.
And we won't support him. But what we have to understand is what happened with our ancestors. We are building all of these great empires, but we better build an army.
Right.
We better build finances with that. We better build food with that. All of these things Garvey was doing. He was taking people out of the workforce. He was building communities and infrastructures to protect our people. We have to get back to that. And the simplest way of saying that is if individually we do what we're supposed to get done, corporately the job will get done, but there has to be one consensus of where we're going as a people.
Right. We got to agree on terms. And look, this is coming out of Houston, Texas. And the knowledge and the reason why we do these shows is to show you that there are awake brothers and sisters all across this nation showing you that the time is right. Brother Low-Key talked about we're in the Aquarian age. Well, the time that we're living in and the message that's being received, a lot of brothers are waking up throughout this globe. So it was a pleasure having you on this show, Brother Malvo, and giving your take and sharing your conscious thoughts with people so they can understand that this thing is moving. You know, this brother is well versed in his studies. You can tell that he's passionate by the way that he speaks about the subject. So we thank you for tuning in and we thank you all for listening. Verbal Pick Radio will be back.